my name is Svitlana Kalitsun, and I'm a lawyer and negotiator from Vienna, Austria. During the last years, when I was working for large national and international law firms, corporations, lately big bank, I have realized that negotiation skills are very rare. But no matter what, they stay a basic means to reach any of your goals. Especially for us lawyers, who are very well trained in knowledge, but not so much in how to really apply it on everyday life. Good negotiation skills are the differentiator. They will make you stand out of the crowd. Therefore, at the Negotiation Academy, we run trainings for some of the biggest law firms in Brazil and around the world. And we help lawyers to become more effective. We teach them how to create negotiation strategies, how to win and keep clients, how to communicate effectively, and most importantly, how to give their partner a feeling that they have got a good deal and to make them want to cooperate again and again. So in this lecture, I'm going to focus on claiming value. And before we talk about how to negotiate the best price, I would like to draw the difference between the traditional bargaining and the interest-based negotiation. So traditional bargaining is like sharing this piece of cake. There are two or more parties that have actually a fixed amount of something, and they need to share that information with each other. So there is a fixed amount of something, and if we talk about, if we negotiate, then we negotiate about the slice of cake. Interest-based negotiation, on the other side, is about finding out different interests. It's about finding the underlying interests, underlying the positions, creating more options, and creating more value for everyone. Like this piece of cake is actually growing. And therefore, if you grow the pie, then you also will grow your slice of the pie. But no matter which negotiation are you involved in right now, is it a interest-based negotiation where you created a bigger slice of cake and a bit bigger pie, or is it a traditional bargaining, also called a distributive negotiation? At some point, there will be time to split the pie and to claim as much value as you can for yourself. So how to do that? I can tell you. And in order to answer this, you've got to ask yourself 5 following questions. When is it appropriate to talk about money? What number should you prepare to be ready? What shall you open first, or shall you go second? And if you decide to go first, then how high should you start? And also how to make concessions, how to negotiate around the price and give the price reductions. Let's dive in and talk about the timing first. And the timing is linear, so therefore the first step is always the preparation. Doing your research, understanding what is the market value, what is the market price, what are the objective criteria that might influence your deal negotiation is actually happening before the negotiation table, before you enter the room. As soon as you enter the room, there's got to be some chit chat, some small talk, some connecting on the basic human level. And I know people sometimes tell me, I don't like to talk about private issues, private matters. I don't want to talk about my family and kids. And there is no need to do that. You can talk about sports or weather. You can talk about some professional developments, but not on deal-related matters. This is very important. The connection to the person, the relationship to the person will actually influence the whole process of exchanging information, of closing the deal, of also following up. Therefore, you really need a relationship before you start negotiating. Then, after you have created a rapport, at some point, there is time to exchange information. This is where you present your arguments. This is when you present your positions. This is where you learn about the interests of the others, where you understand their fears, their goals, their motivators, their concerns. Everything that is relevant to the people will be exchanged on this level. And then, only then, you will have the possibility to bargain. Sometimes people, sometimes good negotiators tell us that if that's a longer negotiating rounds, then they never speak about numbers before lunch, because they really need this time of chit chat, of exchanging information. This process also does not always go in one side. So sometimes you get no information, then you need to prepare again. Then you go into the room. Then maybe there is a break for a coffee or for lunch. Then you discuss some non-deal related matters. Then you come back, and then you start exchanging information again. Therefore, bargaining is one of the last stages of negotiating. And after that, there just got to be an agreement and commitment in best case. So remember that there are many different steps to get to the agreement. When you prepare, there are 3 different numbers that I'd like to talk to you about. And the first number you might actually know. It's called reservation price, or the bottom line. It's with easy words, with simple words, it's the maximum that the buyer can give, and the minimum that the seller can accept. It's Harvard Negotiation Project also calls it BATNA, which is short for Best Alternative to Negotiating Agreement. This is the plan B. This is what can happen if this deal is not going to work out for you. Usually we have this minimum or the maximum as soon as we get into the room. But there is a second price that is important here too, and that's the goal and the target price. Because imagine if you want to buy something for 1,000, and then you think, okay, that's actually the opening price, but I really would like to go to negotiate the price down and to push it to 800. So the 800 will be your goal or the target price. It's usually a little bit more optimistic. Sometimes it's a lot optimistic. But the optimism goes until should not be offensive. So it's got to be backed up by objective criteria, and it's got to be justifiable, because you don't want to go into a Lamborghini store having a goal price of the coffee machine. There's got to be some limits and some adequacy between the prices. And the price has got to be specific. So it's got to be clear and understandable, and not the range of the prices, because then people will take and understand completely different numbers that you present. What you want here is a clear message. This is the price. This is what I want. And between the 2 prices, there is the first challenge that we've got to master here when negotiating. Sometimes it's a pushy situation. Sometimes it's a very specific one. And what you've got to understand here is that the reservation price works like barometer. So for example, this is the reservation price, this is a walk-out situation. If I go this way, then I probably will have a deal here. And if I go this way, then the deal is not going to happen, because it's like out of my price range. And usually our brains focuses on the reservation price, and as soon as we negotiate into the comfort zone, as soon as we in this yes part of the barometer, our brain usually primed in that way that we relax a bit, that we are in a comfort zone, and therefore it takes our drive from the negotiation, because we just a little bit like more or less, okay, I'm going to have the deal, that's okay. We smile sometimes, or it's just relaxation. And the thing is that if people pay close attention, and if it's about money, they usually do, they will notice that too, and this will actually take all your drive, or a lot of your drive, off the table, and will bring worse results. So therefore, my suggestion is to have this barometer price, the reservation price, in the back of your head, to have it, but still concentrate your whole performance on the goal and the target price. And everything that is not your goal or target price has got to be a huge disappointment. The third number is the opening price. And before we dive into that, I would like to do a small exercise with you. I have a question for you. Is the population of Uzbekistan more or less than 4 million? What do you think? Is the population of Uzbekistan more or less than 4 million? Just for yourself, don't Google that. It's just a small exercise. And maybe you have a pen where you can write it down. What do you think is the population of Uzbekistan? Just write it down somewhere. It's no one will ever see that number. Just for the sake of exercise, and I will be the only one who's going to ask you, what did you have? Did you have 0 to 5 million? Or did you have 6 to 10 million? Or maybe you even dared to estimate 10 to 20 million, or even more, 20 million. Oh my God. What happens here? The population of Uzbekistan is 32 million. Yes. This is the time when in my seminars I see eyebrows going up, or people have expressions of not understanding or surprise, because something has happened here. What happened here is actually that I anchored you before. When I put the question first about 4 million people, I have anchored you by that random number. And therefore, I can usually tell that the majority in the room will be estimating around that number. So the majority goes between 0 and 10 million. And only those who actually more or less know what would be the number, they estimate differently. And this is the power of anchoring, and this is the power also of opening price. And now we look at looping back to the 3 numbers. The opening price is your anchor, and the opening price always works. Therefore, there are so many different studies, and I love to read them because they are so irrational, but again, they work with so many people in so different ways. I'd like to tell you about this auction in the University of MIT. MIT stands for Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where they would put students, very logical people, mathematicians, and they have asked them 2 things. First was to take out their social security card and write 2 last digits on a piece of paper. So this would be like the anchor from the social security number. They would write it down on the paper, put the paper back, and then they started the second part of the exercise, and that was the auction. So they would make students bid on bars of chocolate, electronical gadgets, on bottles of wine and books, and then they have compared the 2 pieces. The one part was the social security number and the bids. It turned out that those who had higher social security numbers, the last digits only, they were bidding and were ready to pay more money by 140 to 170% for exactly the same items. So this experiment shows us that it does not matter how logical you are there and how relevant the number in front of you is. It just focuses your brain around that, and therefore it is very important to remember that as soon as you talk about numbers. And therefore my suggestion would be, if you know everything, if you have research and you know exactly what the price would be, then use it because you have the sufficient information. Then you can go first and not actually present the first price in the negotiation. Then you can anchor them, and then from that you can negotiate around, and you'll have a big wiggle room to what you want to achieve. And on the other side, if you don't have sufficient information, then guard yourself against it. And the only guarding, you can only do that by researching. So again, we're going back to preparation and to research. The market prices, the market values, everything that is important to you has got to be there, and also to justify the price. Because if they come to you and actually anchor you with an outrageous number, you will be able to guard yourself and to say no to that because you have completely different criteria. And this will keep your feet on the ground. So remember, anchoring effect and opening price are very important, but often underestimated. Let's look at the numbers from a different perspective, from the linear perspective. Imagine that you are an owner of this beautiful house in Tuscany, Italy, and you want to sell it. before negotiating with someone else, you went to the local real estate agency, and they have given you an offer for 400,000. That would be your reservation price. This is the plan B if other negotiations will not work out for you. This will be the offer that you will be willing to accept. But you still think that you will be able to negotiate your price up, and your goal would be at 670,000. That's the goal price. And since we know what anchoring is, and since we know that we need to ask for more in order to get what we want, we need to open at 880, for example. So that's the opening offer. Let's look at the buyer's perspective, because buyer has also got some limits, and the maximum, for example, to buy this house would be the 600. That's his reservation price. But he still thinks that he wants to push the price down, and therefore the goal would be to buy at 400. He will be very happy to buy at this price. Since we know that anchoring effect is there, and we need to ask for more, for less in this case, then the opening offer would be at 200. It's unrealistic, but still he needs to offer at some point. Therefore, he's going to offer 200. And now let's look on the perspective from both at the negotiation table. So we have here the buyer with the reservation price at 600. And we also have the seller with the reservation price of 400. And the zone between is called zone of possible agreement. This is the overlapping of the reservation prices. And this is the area where it makes sense for the both parties, for these specific two people, to have a deal. And this is the huge zone, as you can see. So they can negotiate around the zone of possible agreement anyways, but as soon as they get into the zone of possible agreement, then the deal is possible and the deal is likable. And therefore, many people think that they are great negotiators because they get into the zone of possible agreement. But the best negotiators, they are known and seen by the way and by the fact how far they can push their counterparts to the reservation price. So remember, as soon as you get on the negotiation table, you've got to think about the ZOPA, and they will never tell you what the reservation price is, but we've got to find our way around and also to find that. And now we also let's think that we know exactly that we need to prepare. We need to have the chit chat. We need to prepare the three numbers. As soon as we are at the negotiation table, we start with the opening price, and we have the goal price that we concentrate on and try to go to the limits of the others. For example, you want to sell your bike for 1,000. Your opening price was 1,000 euros, $1,000, but your reservation price is 900. So the wiggle room that you have is $100. And for the sake of this exercise, let's say that there will be 4 rounds of negotiating. So 4 rounds when people would talk about the money. So you have $100 to spend over the 4 rounds, and here in the chart you have also 6 options on how to spend that money. So look at the different options, pause this video and try and find one that you like to use in this specific case. I hope that you have chosen your strategy from A to F. Take only one, not 2 or 3. And let's go through all of them. So let's start with the option A. Option A starts with $25, and you would spend $25 every single time they ask you for a reduction of a price. It looks fair, not? Because it's the same amount, they ask you give, but the message, think about the message that you send behind that. The message is that Ask me for the 5th time and you'll get 25% reduction, $25 reduction again. This is not the message you want to send. In the option B, you would be spending $100 in the first 2 rounds and not having anything to give in the 3rd and the 4th round. And this is risky because they might walk out on you, because the message that you're sending is actually that you're not working with them, and this might frustrate them. Actually, exactly the same would happen in the option C, because you will not give anything in the first 3 rounds, and the possibility that you get to the 4th round is very, very, very low. And if you prepare to give a lot in the 4th round, then it's actually would be surprise to them if they get there, because they're already frustrated and they get something, and then they will be pushy or actually want to do it all over again and just to find out how much more you can give away. Option D is the opposite. You give in the beginning a lot of money, and then afterwards you're not giving anything away. So the first message, the first giveaway is actually I have a lot of wiggle room, but then the others are not consistent with the first message. So again, it's risky, and the walk away and walk out situation is very, very much possible here. Option E starts with $10, then increases bit by bit to 20, 30, 40. The message here is, ask me another time and I will give you even bigger reduction. I had some participants who would call this the strategy desperate, because it again signals that I really want to work with you on this deal, and I'm really prepared to give you more and more, so you take my bicycle off my hands. This is not the message you want to send, but the message that you want to send is actually hidden in the strategy number F, because you have given in the first round a significant amount of money of 40, and then you decrease it bit by bit, messaging that I'm working with you, I'm giving you reductions, but bit by bit I'm giving you all and everything that I have, and at some point I will not have anything else, so there is no point on asking. And this is exactly the message that you want to send, that you're working with them, you are there, you keep talking, but they have got the last short of you. This is the best opportunity and possibility to give reductions, and also to keep the power in negotiations, to steer the negotiations yourself, because you make the decisions that leads to the decisions of the others. So to sum up, in this short lesson, you have learned that bargaining is always after you got all the information exchanged. And if you don't have enough information, then it's better to go to the information exchange, to the preparation, and then to bargain. In the preparation, you've got to prepare the maximum or the minimum, which is called reservation price. You need to focus on the goal, and you've got to open with a specific number that's not going to be realistic, but still anchor the other part. But you've got to also to protect yourself from the anchoring effect, because it just works on all of us, and you've got to make them work on your concessions. Like in the last slide where we were talking about the option F, making them work, making them asking you for the concession and giving them bit by bit something makes them also feel more attached to the negotiations, and also be more satisfied with the outcome, because they have worked hard for that. And this brings me to my last slide, where I would like to tell you that Negotiation Academy has got also free online courses. Check it out on www.necacademy.com. There are some courses also in Brazilian language. And yes, keep in touch, connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook. You can find my credentials here. Write me an email if you have any questions, and I will be happy to hear about you. All the best from Vienna. Bye bye.